Hey everyone, this is Meg with another current release game review, and today I'm going to be talking about Mass Effect 3. Now, unlike my Darkness 2 review, I am actually going to mention Mass Effect 1 and 2, because for the most part they link directly to elements in this game, so it's kind of hard to avoid. And I'm also going to mention the ending in passing, but don't worry, there won't be any spoilers in this video, unlike my thoughts on the ending video I did on Tuesday. So yes, let's get started. The story I thought was a really wonderful carry-on from the previous titles, and I'm pretty sure it picks up right after the DLC from Ashes. It sees the galaxy on the brink of certain annihilation. Like Sovereign promised in Mass Effect 1, the Reapers have arrived. They've blackened every sky and they're harvesting every world. And of course, it's up to you to save the galaxy. Sort of technically again. First off, I want to say that the story literally had me gripped from the very beginning until just before the end. Now, on the character front, things were a little bit different in this game. Unlike previous installments, your team members, for the most part, don't really stay with you for the duration. Characters like Rex and Tali and Legion play more of, I'd say, a long cameo, which I hear quite a few people weren't too happy with. I thought it was fine. I liked it a lot. It seemed quite logical. It just seemed to make sense to me that all the friendships that you'd cultivated in the previous games would sort of result in cross-galaxy allies that wouldn't necessarily just fight with you directly, but represent you in their own corner of space. The stories overall, though, I felt were a lot more powerful this time around. I mean, fan favourites died, your friendships and allegiances were truly tested, and romances and things just really came full circle, and I think it's fair to say as well that the story was a hell of a lot darker this time around, with very tough decisions to make along the way. It deals with very important themes too, such as unity and accepting a race or a culture for what it is as opposed to what you would expect it to be or what you assume it should be. The ending, though, is a sour note. I will actually link in the description to my ending thoughts video so you can see what I thought about it. I won't talk about it too much here, but I did want to make a couple of statements in regards to a few comments that I've gotten about or from people that haven't actually played the games and aren't quite sure, I guess, why people are so mad, or, you know, I don't know, I just wanted to clarify a couple of things, but don't worry, there won't be any spoilers. I guess the main reason why people are angry or feel quite betrayed, I suppose, is because BioWare had a very aggressive marketing campaign for Mass Effect 3. A lot of things were promised over a very long period of time. And unfortunately, all of the things that were promised for the ending weren't actually delivered on paper. I think I read somewhere that someone's in the process of trying to sue them for false advertising, and unfortunately they have ground to stand on. And I think that's why consumers, we as consumers, are probably a little bit miffed. And the last thing is I wanted to explain a little bit, because some people have been saying they don't understand why the Mass Effect gamers feel, I guess, a sense of entitlement, which would be quite hard to understand, I guess, if either you're not familiar with the series or the company or anything like that, maybe. But BioWare and the Mass Effect games are famous for taking fan feedback. I know a lot of companies claim to do this, but not quite on the same level as BioWare. In the first game, they very much opened the door and said, hey fans, we want you to shape this experience. And that's what we helped do. For example, there would never have been a romanceable option of Garrus and Tali if all of the gamers didn't say, hey, we really love them, we want to romance them next time. But anyway, this feedback was taken on board, they created the romanceable options, and now they've shaped the story for another 2 more installments. So the players rightly feel entitled because they have participated, and BioWare welcomes that participation. They gave us a voice. So I hope that explains to some people who can't quite understand maybe why gamers and fans of this franchise feel this way. That's part of the reason. So back to the story. Overall, it made me laugh hysterically. There's a fantastic dialogue between Blabbermouth, Edie and Shepard, which is just one example. If you've played the game, you'll know what I'm talking about, of just really great writing and acting. I mean, it's just executed perfectly. It also made me cry hysterically for reasons that I'm not going to share, for fear of spoiling it for any of you. But it made me feel determined to save the world, even if that meant dying. You know, we've gone so far with all of our characters up until this point when I was playing Mass Effect 3 with each, I guess, chapter, if you could call it that passed, I was just more amped for this final battle. I knew that this was the final stop on the journey and I was going to go out with a hell of a bang. So to put it mildly, it's an emotional roller coaster, which I can't say I've ever experienced to this extent in a video game before, so kudos, BioWare. The gameplay was really impressive as well. I'm going to try and touch all bases here. There's a lot of things to mention, so please bear with me. If I miss anything out, leave a comment and let me know. But as it is, yeah, I'll try and sort of touch upon everything. First off, the cover system, which people really wanted to see improve, was indeed improved. Although I still found it a little bit slightly awkward, so I'd say it's a lot better than the previous installments, but not like, it's not seamless yet. Scanning planets is a completely different experience with a completely different set of challenges. I would say it's quite a prickly affair. The weapons loadout is pretty much the same as Mass Effect 2, so before you start a mission, you'll have the option to chop and change certain weapons, add upgrades, that kind of thing. To those of you who have played Mass Effect 1, you'll remember that each character in that game had access to sniper rifles, assault rifles, pistols, you name it. Then in Mass Effect 2, each character had like one weapon pairing, so they'd have like submachine guns and a pistol or a heavy pistol, so it was unique to each character. It's the same in Mass Effect 3. There's also a new melee attack, which is absolutely epic. I had to refrain from using it every 2 minutes, screw guns. Although you have to be careful when you're aiming it, because you might find yourself meleeing the wall, but I think actually that might just be a personal problem, because when I panic, aim for me just goes out of the window. I would say too that in this game, loyalty doesn't play such a large factor. You kind of already have your allies' loyalty, so you don't really have to work at it this time around. Of course, there are a lot of missions and a wide variety of them, but they revolve mainly around forming alliances with other people, and in doing so you aid your friends. That's pretty much how it's set up, but there's no black and white, I guess, reward like there was in Mass Effect 1 and Mass Effect 2 for completing these character missions. They've scrapped the ability to manually bypass things in this game with that sort of snap style puzzle we saw in Mass Effect 2, you know, matching up the symbols and the coloured text. In this game instead, you can still bypass things and pick up credits and scan items and stuff, but it's all minus the challenge. I didn't really miss it though. Leveling up is basically the same in this game as it is in previous games, save the expand feature, which, surprise surprise, expands the ability so you can see what each point specifically gains. And you can't actually level up the Normandy in this game either, which was quite integral in Mass Effect 2, but you won't be needing that in this game. Again, I didn't really miss it. I thought it was a great feature in 2, but I didn't mourn its loss in 3. So what happens is you have a maximum or a minimum amount of scans per cluster before the Reapers will come directly after you and for your ship. So when scanning for like mission planets, it's not too much of a challenge, but when you're trying to find military assets within these galaxies and fuel stations, it can be a little bit tricky. But I really enjoyed this challenge. I loved this feature, and it was very unique, I think, compared to the last 2 games. You also have the addition of multiplayer, which I didn't actually play. For the most part, decisions and past choices affect this game and play a huge role in your experience. Save a colony here, destroy a race there, it all plays a part in the narrative of this game. For example, I managed to save all of the colonists on Zeus Hope, so they became a military asset for me in Mass Effect 3. Other smaller features such as side missions and money and upgrades are the same or very similar to things or elements that we saw in the previous Mass Effect titles. Overall though, I'd say the gameplay is just as impressive as all the other elements. Things that needed to be tweaked or taken out or changed were, and things that weren't broke and worked really well weren't fixed. So it worked really well. The graphics, again, were great all around. I liked the addition of a few more cinematic cutscenes every time you enter a new world, and the end fight cinematic was absolutely beautiful as well. Most of you who've subscribed to my channel will probably know I'm a fan of cinematic cutscenes especially, so these were nice additions. I mean, there were a few in the previous titles, but in Mass Effect 3 they really worked them in there. It's kind of funny, I see the graphics in the Mass Effect series a bit like the graphics in the Uncharted series. When I'm playing the game at the time, I don't think they look bad, and then the next one will come out and I'll say, wow, they're really vastly improved. I mean, the mouth movement and the animation was really good. I felt the characters emoted a lot more through their faces, and the textures were absolutely gorgeous, especially with characters like Garrus. And of course, all the new homeworlds had a variety of different styles and looks, and they felt so vast in comparison to the previous game. My favourite levels on the style front would be the Krogan homeworld, with that very Logan's Run waterfall-esque feel to it. The temple on Thessia was just gorgeous. There was something about the colour palette that just really strangely stood out to me. And the Citadel had yet another facelift, but it was a welcome change. I mean, looking down at the Presidium from Huerta Memorial Hospital was absolutely beautiful. I don't know about any of you, but I felt the Citadel in this game was more accessible. It felt a lot less sterile, and it was a lot livelier too. My only pet peeve about the graphics was my Shepard's hands. Like, from the wrist down, she looked about 83, or a sunburned 83-year-old. It was really strange, but that's literally it. Overall, the variety of the textures, of the styles, of the looks was just amazing, vastly improved overall, and very unique from the previous installment. So again, I really can't fault the graphics either. There are two things I want to talk about the soundtrack that really impressed me and that I just really wanted to talk about. Number one is that choosing Clint Mansell to compose the score this time around was an Albert Einstein level of genius. He added a touch of class, I think, to the score. Now, the themes in previous titles were very epic in melody, but I felt in overall sound they were lacking in that sort of power, whereas Clint Mansell delivers like an orchestral punch with his music, and definitely raised the quality, I would say. And two, in using Clint Mansell, they didn't lose any of the previous melodies. He managed to work around some tunes and tracks that were used in the previous titles. For example, there's a great piece of music in Mass Effect 3 called, I think, The Reapers Are Coming. And if you listen very carefully, you can hear Sovereign's theme sort of echo in. And the melody from Suicide Mission in Mass Effect 2 actually features in the final Fight for Earth cinematic cutscene sequence, which again, really great touch. It's always nice, especially for the fans who fall in love with previous games, to see evidence of what was there before in what there is now. For example, when I watched Terminator 4, the whole time I sat there, same with 3, I thought, where's the dun-dun-dun-dun-dun that Brad Fiedel made so iconic? My only issue is that in one of my favourite tracks called Escape from Earth, it sounds very similar to the horns we heard in Inception, but he isn't the first composer to coin this very epic sound, and he definitely won't be the last. Overall, Mansell added so much more to this score, and his style fits so well with this epic installment. Again, I find it practically impossible to fault the soundtrack. All in all, 99% of this game is as close to Mass Effect perfection as you will get. The romances, the friendships, the heartache and the action, the grand score and the high stakes were all a perfect ender. The end, of course, is a sour note, but BioWare, over the course of all 3 games, have taken constructive criticism and fan feedback and have given us as fans a voice. This is something that I know I'm grateful for. No, the ending is not what was advertised, I'm not going to lie about that, or make no mistake, but I do respect BioWare as a company for giving me as a fan a voice and also delivering an entire series of games that I have really thoroughly enjoyed. So yeah, I guess remember that BioWare's given you a voice, but just don't abuse it. Be constructive, people. Be kind. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Feel free to leave your feedback and comments in the comment section below. I'll try and get back to as many as I possibly can. And yes, I guess I'll see you all in my next video on Tuesday. I hope you all have really wonderful weekends, and I'll see you soon. Bye! What do you call them? Pictures? Icons. Symbols! There we go. Ico, baby. From blah, 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 blah. Or like my lips look funny or something. My face doesn't look like my face out of the galaxy. Damn it. I've just eaten dinner and I'm really, really full. Just had egg fried rice. I feel a bit like Reese. Can't remember what Malcolm in the Middle episode it is, but they come back from eating a buffet and he's like sprawled out on the floor and he's like, why didn't somebody stop me? And that's kind of how I feel right now. I'm blind, oh no. I can see, it's a miracle. When I sit on it, I stand on it first. Yeah, I know, I don't really know where I got that from. Oh, my lip just did something weird. Kind of went, depending on each sort of show up. I can't remember what I just said. I hate that word. I want to call it melee, and it's not, it's melee. That was like when I was 5 and I said ballet. I don't really know why that was relevant. I just thought I'd tell you, hey, cardiac arrest stories, fun, side missions. Shush, you're getting on my nerves now. Other crap, you made me lose my thoughts, Stephen. Yeah, you're quiet now. I don't hear you apologising. Oh gosh darn it, now I'm really confused.